Hello YouTube, I'm the Foam Witch, and in this video I'm going to show you how I made Sienna's sword from the Terrifier movies, so smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's do this. I made the template for this as I was building the sword. I am giving this template away for free, you can find it in the description of this video so you can make one for yourself. Starting with this piece that gives the base for the pommel, and this curved section which gives the main body for the pommel. Both of these pieces got cut out of 5mm foam. This curved piece gets stuck together in a circle to give a shape that looks like this. Once they'd both been rounded off with the Dremel, the body was going to get stuck on top of the base. And that gave something that looked like this. Next up was the handle, and to make this part I took a 20mm diameter foam dowel. This got cut to the length of 10cm and then got wrapped in a sheet of 3mm foam just to make it a little bit thicker. The handle also got stuck to the pommel, but I forgot to record that bit, sorry! Next up was the head of the handle, taking the piece of the template that looks like this. This got cut out twice of 10mm foam. I realised that wasn't quite thick enough though, so I added another piece of 5mm on top of that. This then got sanded with the Dremel and a sanding barrel attachment. This took quite a while to get it as smooth and curved as it needed to be. But once I was happy with it, this is how it looked, and it got stuck to the handle. As you can see from this reference photo, the handle has some detail on it, so this is when that got added. All of these detail pieces got cut out of 3mm foam, starting with this piece for the bottom of the handle. Then onto this piece, which is weirdly making me really want a burger. This got stuck on just above the straight piece below. Then onto this piece, which got stuck at the top of the handle. I've no idea why I didn't stick these in order, but they are in order on the template. I then cut out this very thin strip of 3mm foam, and this was going to stick around the very top of the handle. This isn't on the template, so if you cut it out for yourself, it needs to be cut at a width of 0.5mm. There is this little circle detail at the bottom of the handle. This again isn't on the template because you can use whatever you'd like to make this. I just cut this out of a 10mm diameter foam dowel and rounded it off. Back to the detail for the middle of the handle, and I know I'm absolutely all over the place, but that's just the way my brain works. This gets stuck on just below the top detail piece. 4 of these little oval shapes then got cut out, and these get stuck in between the detail pieces just added on either side, looking something like this, and that was the build of the handle complete. Moving on to making the blade, 2 pieces of 5mm foam got cut out for this. To make it easier cutting these pieces out with a beveled edge, I'm using this incredible tool from the awesome Tig Supplies. This is a bevel cutting tool, and if you lie it flat on the foam, it will cut out a nice beveled edge at a 45-degree angle. It is brilliant. Every time I try and cut out a beveled edge with just a normal knife, my hands are quite wobbly, so they end up being a bit kind of misshapen. But because this tool stops the blade from wobbling as you're dragging it through the foam, it gives a clean beveled edge cut every time. Just make sure to keep the blade sharp and it will help you out no end. And this is how it looked once 2 of the blades were cut out. These needed strengthening, so I just used some metal rods as inserts. To stick these into the blades, I just scored in a channel using my Dremel Versatip, and then they got stuck into these using hot glue. Once the metal rods had been added, the 2 halves of the blade got stuck together. Foam is obviously quite soft, so adding these inserts in the middle keep it quite rigid, so when you're winging that sword around, the blade isn't going to wobble all over the place. Both sides of the blade have these detail lines added into it. I scored these in using my Dremel Versatip. The top line is 24cm in length and the 2 bottom ones are 28cm. To attach the blade to the handle, I inserted another section of that metal rod, and then this just got stuck into the handle itself. And that was the build of the sword complete. This then needed sealing before painting, and I used my favourite sealer, black flexi paint from the incredible Tig Supplies. This got brushed on by hand. Yes, I was in bed when I was painting this, and I used 4 layers. This is how it looked once it had fully dried overnight, and it was now ready to be painted. For the blade, I started with this silver airbrush paint, and being super obvious for a second, as the name suggests, I used this in my airbrush. For full coverage, I sprayed on 2 layers of this paint. I then wanted to add some subtle shading, so I took this black airbrush paint and I sprayed it on the edges of the sword. I'm not sure you can really see it that well here, but it does add a subtle gradient to the paint. To paint the handle, I used a base of this brown airbrush paint, And to get proper coverage over the black, I used about 4 layers. This is how it looked just with the base brown. And this is how it looked once I'd added some shading with a darker brown around the edges and a bit of a lighter brown in the middle. Hopefully, you can tell the difference. I then painted the very top detail on the handle and the very bottom of the pommel in a silver. It was then time to paint the gold details using this acrylic paint, which I brushed on by hand. And again, I used about 4 layers of this paint. I then wanted to protect the paintwork, so I used this clear top coat in a satin finish. And once that had fully dried overnight, that, my friends, was the Sienna sword complete. As a massive gore fan, the Terrifier films, I just love them, so this was a really fun build. If you are still watching this video, I want to give you a massive huge thank you. If you could give it a like, that would be awesome, and if you could subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, that would be incredible. If you would like to support me and my channel even further, if you could think about hitting that thanks button, that would be so appreciated. If you use the free templates to make this for yourself, please tag me in your creations because I love to see them. Huge thanks again for watching. All I've got left to say is, I'll see you next time.